let's kick off with Good Boy, and because the most people on this thing have seen Good Boy, so let's kick off with Good Boy.
Yeah, yeah,
Now,
good boy.
yes, so Good Boy is it's a film that's making a little bit of it's making some waves at the moment, and that's I think that's mainly because in Good Boy what you have is you have it as it it sets up like a horror film, like the whole thing is like a house secluded in the woods, blah blah blah. Is there something ancient and ritualistic going on here? Da 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 da. The difference with this is that this entire film is told from the perspective of this guy's dog. So essentially the person who would usually be the main character in the film, it's flipped. And imagine if the main character in the film had a dog, and all you see in this film is from this dog's perspective. So it's about how the dog experiences what's going on in the house. It's about how the dog figures out what's going on with his owner. It's about what the dog senses and how the dog tries to deal with it. And it's essentially like there's a Pixar. So Pixar do these shorts. So it's a Disney short that they have. It's called Feast, and it's essentially a romantic comedy, but told from the perspective of this guy's dog and about the food that this guy and essentially this film is a horror movie. It's like if take Feast, make it a horror movie, and stretch it to almost feature length. Because one of the things I love the most about this film is that it's only about 80 minutes long.
Yeah, nice and short.
I was like, yes, yes. It's like one battle after another. Good Boy. You know what? I'm not a big fan of horror, but I'm gonna go for making a film that short. I'm gonna go watch you. I'm gonna go give you my money and watch that film. And that's the basic thing of this film. So it's about at the beginning you get to meet this guy Todd who seems to have some issues in his life. His sister's a bit worried about him, but he packs up, leaves the city, goes to a secluded cabin that his grandfather had just out there, and his grandfather sort of left it to him, but his grandfather died while he was in that house. So he goes back to the house and it's like, was there a reason his grandfather died in that house? And when his grandfather died in that house, they never found his grandfather's dog, who was like really really loyal to him. And you carry on with that, but you see everything from the point of view of his dog called Indy. And I think that's all that really need to know, quite frankly, about the film. As far as the setup is concerned, that's all you really need to know. What I will say though is that I think how much you love this film depends on how much you think dogs are people. So, so I think it like because there's some people who absolutely love this. They want to get that dog, and I predict that because the dog is a very particular kind of breed, and I think that the demands for this breed of dog are going to go through the roof. I personally think that. But anyway, Sean, what did you think of this?
Okay, so, well, the first 20 minutes I thought was really, really good. And I was really, really intrigued. Really,
Yeah,
really, totally intrigued.
yeah.
And I thought, oh, this could go one or two ways. And then let's just say there's a thumping stair scene
Mm-hmm.
which just totally switched me off. I just thought that is ridiculous because that dog would know. The dogs know stuff. You know what I mean? You know the scene I'm talking about, yeah? Where up the stair,
Uh, uh,
and then
oh
it's
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, 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 yeah.
and the
Oh
dog's
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes,
you
yes,
the
yes, yes,
dog's
yes.
cowering away, and he wouldn't because it's like, and I knew that straight away. I thought that's pathetic. I'm sorry. I really, really thought that was the most ridiculous thing.
Hey, I know the scene you're talking about. It has to do
And
with
then
shadows. It has to shadow the shadows of the.
from there, it just went downhill. It was just ludicrous. But the first 20 minutes, thought this is really, really good. I was really, really into it.
Yeah.
And then that scene in particular, because I knew exactly. I thought,
Well, yeah, that is.
the
I know,
dogs have got
I know what you.
senses. They know what's real and what's not, and people they know and people they don't know. That was ridiculous, Toes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have to admit with that bit because that bit is done in such a way. Is it a spoiler? I don't know. Okay, but the thing is, it's done in a way where they're trying to do a certain type of scare. Okay, let's put it
Yeah,
this
yeah,
way.
yeah.
They're trying to do a certain type of scare that shows up in horror movies quite often. And I think I put because I put it down to just me refusing to be scared. I'm just going, this is what's happening, that's what's happening, that's what's happening,
Like,
and figuring out quite early on what was going on there, and like, it wasn't, and like figuring out that what they were trying to tell you wasn't what was going on.
yeah,
Figuring it out quite early. So yeah, I think I know what you mean about that. I think I know what you mean about that scene.
but as I say, so that's my take on it. From there onwards, I didn't. But that sort of switched me off that scene. I thought, no,
Yeah.
that's a cheap trying to get a cheap scare, which is ridiculous because the dog wouldn't do what the dog did in that situation.
I
Sorry.
agree. I agree with you. I do think that that's a cheap. I did think at the moment when I was watching that that was a cheap scare. It was a
Yeah,
cheap scare, and like you could do something better. You could do
yeah,
something better
definitely.
with
I
it.
mean, having
It's
said that, there was a girl that was sat on the same row that did jump a couple of times, but
Oh,
yeah,
I got that when I was watching it as well. There's one scene where because this film does a lot of things where the dog walks into a room, and by the way, I think that the filmmakers have done brilliantly because the dog is actually the dog of the. It's not like a stunt dog. It's not a performer dog. It's the actual dog of the director. And
right.
so the actual dog of the director. So he made this thing apparently over 3 years, just getting his dog to do stuff and I think that they have done brilliantly because they have got a if you can say a brilliant performance out of the dog, they've gotten a brilliant performance out of the dog,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
yeah,
Got
and
you.
and I think that they've done brilliantly with that, and like you just sort of like you're watching and you're going, okay, cool, okay, yeah, I know what the dog's going through, I know what's happening, but there was this bit where there's a lot of things where the dog walks into a room and the dog is looking around, and then they show you what the dog's seeing, and then it's not very well lit, so there could be something in the corner that's
Mm.
just sort of like popping out. And there was a bit where they had one of these shots, and there was something in the corner, and I spotted it, and then I heard a woman somewhere in the cinema just go, no! I
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
yelled as she realized what was there. And I think, as I said, it depends on how much you love dogs, because some people are just sort of like scared for this dog in this film. But John, I can see you lurking. It looks like you want to say something.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
did you
he's a
think about
lurker.
this?
Look at that big hand there, just grabbing him. Come on, John.
Yeah,
That's quite a good shot,
I
actually.
found interesting about the film because a lot of people are raving about being told from the dog's point of view. I think that's great. Um, it's not as original as some people made out to be. It's kind of forgotten now, but there used to be a series of movies called Benji. It's no, Take on Lassie, but there was one where it was lost in the wild, looking after these feral wildcat animals. I say bobber cats.
Yeah,
I really can't remember that much, but I do remember there was virtually no humans. It was just told from the dog's point of view of trying to,
yeah,
look after these, and that's what the film reminded me of. I did enjoy it, but I know he's slagging it off, but then again. I found a lot of haunted house films not very good at the moment, so I will say it's one of the better ones.
yeah.
But I also have no desire to go out of my way to watch it again.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit slight. It's a bit slight. I think they do a little bit more with this film than they do with. I think, well, as someone who doesn't particularly like horror films, I feel like if you're gonna do a horror film, the horror has to be about something else, not just ooh, look, scary man in the dark running around in a weird costume killing people. And I feel like here there is a point of view where the baddie in this film could be physical. The baddie in this film could be mental. The baddie in this film could be metaphysical. It's kind of like almost as if I think they've done well that you can look at this and you can probably take like three different interpretations as to what the hell is going on, and
Yeah.
each one of them actually holds together.
And I think I liked it the start of it because that was what he was thinking. Now, is this psychological? Is
Yeah,
this what's happening because of the things that happened before? And I
yeah,
think also another thing I didn't like was the extreme moods of the owner. Do you know what I mean? It was
yeah,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
I don't, so yeah.
There were some bits where after it, there were some bits that I was watching it and I was going, okay, this was recorded after the film was made. Like
Yeah, yeah,
the audio, there was bits I was like, audio was recorded after the film was made. Like there's bits where you can see the actor is like facing away from the camera, and those bits, I don't think it's the same actor whose face you see later. I think that might be the director because
yeah,
he's interacting with the dog because you can hear him talking. But I'm like, when you talk, your body moves and his body isn't moving the way you're talking, and I'm just like, nah. But they're a little bit nitpicky. They're a little bit nitpicky. I'll put my hands up and say I'm one of those people who thinks that dogs are given way too much leeway, especially in films. I feel like I'm the guy who is wondering, like, in Independence Day, why are you making such a big deal about the dog surviving in Man of Steel? I'm like, why are you killing you? You've just killed yourself to go release a dog from a car. I am the monster that is looking at that, going, that is a stupid thing. I don't understand why you're doing that. So I
yeah,
don't.
yeah,
So
exactly.
so so I don't feel like So the sort of immediate, sort of almost emotional blackmail of putting a dog in peril doesn't quite do it for me.
No.
But I have to say, I thought that they did very, very well to make a film all around the dog. I think that they did well to make it as short as it is, because even then I think they were stretching it a little bit, and I applaud them for not feeling that they had to make this thing an hour and a half. I really applaud them for doing that, because I don't think it would have stretched that long. And I think that even the final shot and everything like that, there's something, and a lot of people have gone quite philosophical about what this film actually is, because of what it means for the dog. And I'm just like, you might feel my cynicism coming up there, but all in all, with that being said, I think I'll give it a 3. I'll give it a 3 out of 5, because I think it's actually quite well made. But I think those who love dogs will probably add an extra star on there.
I can understand. I can understand the why people would do that, but I just can't forgive that scene. So I'm sorry. So it's a 2 star for me.
All right.